I'm Jake, and welcome to Orpheus Games. I'm 15, and I can't wait to review The Great Wall, which you obviously knew because you clicked on this video. So for our review format for what we do here, we're going to start with an overview, and then go into a discussion of appearance with a focus on artwork, components, and theme, then game design with complexity, mechanics, and innovation, then the practicality of the game, about price and storage, and then our final thoughts with if you like the game, or why you would like the game, why you would dislike the game, and alternative recommendations in case this isn't the one for you. So without further ado, I can't wait to jump in. The Great Wall is is made back from Awaken and is a Euro worker placement game about defending the Great Wall of China from invading hordes of the Mongols, and it's a worker placement game with a different spin of putting out workers, and you're going to be collecting advisors, working on your general, collecting combat cards and deploying troops to defeat the Mongol hordes, so hopefully you aren't overrun. That's basically the gist of the game, and we can get more down into that when we talk about the mechanics. But first up, the first thing you notice about the game, the appearance. And this game is amazing. The art for all of it is so amazing and spectacular. It's like watercolor themed for all the cards, and they look amazing, and they're all unique. They have different lighting. The board is very pretty. It has a lot of different colors, and all the pieces are very easy to pick out. There's amazing illustrations. The game is just super spectacular with all regards to artwork, from the look of the characters to the look of the board to the look of the cards. It's all just amazing and top tier Awaken Realms quality. It's some of the best we've seen for them, especially for a different theme that's different than what they normally do, being more historical and like ancient, in ancient Chinese times rather than like sci-fi or something. Moving on to the components for the game. So there are two different versions of the game. There was a miniatures version and a meeples version you could get, meeples that are reduced cost, which I'm very glad they did that. It allows people to have easier access to it. More people get to play the game. They make more money because of it, and more people are likely to buy it rather than with the skyrocketing price of miniatures and production happening. So I'm really glad they did that, and I have the meeple version because I brought it secondhand and missed the Kickstarter since it was before my board game journey. And all of the components are like pretty good. All the meeples are nice and chunky, and they fill up all the workers' placement spots very easily. And then they had two different, you just had the basic meeples in red, yellow, blue, or green. And then you also had stickers you could put on them, which sharpen the detail and make them look more alive, although it's up to you which you prefer. My brother and I prefer different versions, but I like the stickers, he likes the normal. And then there's three different types. They're all really chunky and nice. There's horsemen, spearmen, archers, and workers, so I guess 4 different types. The cards are all really high quality, and there's a lot of them. It's not linen finished, but it's like glossy and shiny and nice. Player hide things are good. And then there's a weird thing. Oh, and these are the walls that you'll be building up throughout the game. You'll start with none, and then you'll build your way up slowly until you reach the top, which will trigger the end of the game. But all the associated pieces too are really good. There's these chunky pieces for the player order, and then there's nice markers for the score. They're all engraved. They're really nice. All the player colors are also the same across everything, which I haven't noticed before, or like I have noticed before, but I like it's in particular for here. And then there's this resource tray, which is kind of weird since there's really nice components for this chi, gold, and wound markers, and they're like 3D and detailed and really nice, and you can feel the texture and everything, and they're really sharp and really nice. And then there's these wood and stone pieces, which like feel fine. They're like flat and normal, like Architects of the West Kingdom-esque. I still love the game, but not as good or expensive as this one. Because during the Kickstarter, they offered upgraded resources you could get for those in the gold, but the gold looks great already, so it just feels a bit out of place having the stone and the wood look like flat and normal when all the other pieces are nice and high quality. And the game's really good across components the whole way through. And then for theme for the game, it's a Euro game, but it still had a lot of theme for Euro games since I'm not a huge Euro person and I like my games to have theme, and this one did, but something's a bit off. We'll get to this when we talk about components, but it never really feels like you're getting invaded. More like you can just like go, so you have two sections of the game. This section over here where you're placing out workers to set off combos to earn resources. And then this section over here where you can send out troops to fight the Mongol hordes and stuff. But the thing is, the hordes don't really feel like they're invading. It doesn't feel bad. If they attack you, it's not that bad. You only suffer minor losses. It doesn't feel like an invading army should. There's never really like any super pressing need to like build up a wall or shore up defenses or send out troops. It's more like, oh, if I don't attack them, I'm going to get this token, which is going to make me lose 2 resources. Okay, like that's fine. And it shouldn't feel like that. Like when they do raid, like it's not even that bad. It's just like they take some stuff and then some troops over here might die. But like, that's it, and nothing else really bad happens. You're sending out people to collect resources, and then they're called like fancy things like the gold market or the quarry or the masonry and things in the rulebook, but then it's not printed anywhere on the board, so it's more just like, this is the spot for gold, this is the spot for chi, this is the spot for troops, which like, okay, but like you don't really get that same sense they had in the rulebook. I wish they translated that over here more. And then some of the general advisors and things make sense, but we'll get to that in a minute. And then some of the combat cards, like it makes solid sense for a Euro game. It's more than normal, but it's nothing spectacular. It's like fine. It makes sense for this setting, but like it doesn't feel urgent or scary like a war should when you're having invading people. So that was the appearances section. So now moving on to game design. First up, we have the complexity of the game. And there's not a lot going on. It's in a weird spot for complexity because it makes sense what you're doing. You'll send out your workers, and then once all the spaces on the spot are filled, you activate it and everyone there gets resources, and then you can spend the resources to do different things. So it's pretty simple like that. There's not a lot of spaces to go to. There's not a lot you have to learn, but like it's odd. There's like lots of intricacies in the rules, like when you're going here and do that or whatever, and it adds a bit of a weird thing. It's straightforward, but it's a bit wonky in how it's executed. And some things are like printed on the board and nice, but like other things, it's not. It's different. It's not mentioned somewhere else. So that's a little weird. It's not that complicated. It's pretty standard, like maybe a bit more than Terraforming Mars or something. I'm not sure. But the symbology is pretty similar across the board, not intended. And on the back of the rulebook, there's a reference for what the resources and symbols mean. So it's not that complicated. It's just standard involved, and like I wouldn't recommend it for anyone's like to teach their family or anything. It's still a board gamer game, but like pretty moderate in its complexity. People complained about the rulebook a lot for learning the game, but I actually didn't think so. It's a very short rulebook, like 7 pages or something like that, but it's very, very text heavy, and it doesn't really like reference other sections a lot very easily. So it's a bit hard to find what you're looking for, or it might mention like the barracks, and then you have to flip through the rulebook and reference to find what the barracks is or what defeating an army is or something. So it still makes sense for what it says. It's just a bit hard to find what it is, and it's a bit strange how it's worded, but it made sense and I was able to play the game. I just had to reference it several times. It's like, isn't your first priority, but again, there aren't, or when I learned it, many how to play videos out there yet, since I got it from the Kickstarter, or secondhand, but whatever. Then the mechanics of the game, I pretty much explained it. The coolest mechanic in this game though, and by far my favorite part, is you can send out workers over here to collect advisor cards, which are all here, and they're all unique with different artwork and abilities for each of them. And some can be really good. Like each time you upgrade one of your people, you can upgrade your chi person for less gold. Or each time one of your troops is killed, get 2 chi. Or after your activation, pay a chi to activate all your horses. Like they're all different and unique. And so you're collecting them and adding them to your tableau. It's like, okay, that's great. That's pretty standard. But also, at the start of the game, everyone receives a unique general. For example, like Song Chi here. Ability. Each time you upgrade one of your people, get 2 times your advisor's honor. What does that mean? So whenever you gain an advisor from over here, by spending gold, you either play it face up and it gets an ability, or it has no ability and nothing on it matters, but it buffs your general, which can be really a tough and very fun choice, where you're like, do I want this really cool ability? No one else is going to have it. No one else has the chance to, and it could really help me. Or do I buff my general to provide me a benefit for the rest of the game, but that has nothing to do? It's a super fun choice and I really like it. Like I said earlier about mechanics, it never feels like you're getting invaded. You can send over troops and fight them, and sometimes they'll get defeated, but it feels more like a training ground than like an invading army should. It's more like, oh, let's go scratch. Oh, no one invaded. I guess we'll get one of these tokens and then we'll dismiss it by the end of the round. It's like, it doesn't really make that much sense for me thematically or mechanically. It doesn't feel like someone's invading. It's not usually worth all the effort pouring into them. If you do, you get some honor, but you can fight them, but in general, it just feels a little off, but that's more thematically. Then for innovation in the game, this is a sort of unique thing since it's like hard to discern exactly what's innovative or not. But for this game, it's pretty unique in how the worker placement system works. So instead of sending a worker and getting something at these red locations, they're only activated when they're filled up, or these green locations are activated no matter what, but everyone in them gets something. So it's interesting like that. And that's different than what I've seen. And also when you gain resources, you can choose to keep them for yourself, or for most of them, you donate them to the general supply and get victory points, but then anyone else can use them. I think that's really interesting. And also you can be cheeky if you know, hey, I'm going to be building the wall this turn, so I'll collect this stone, donate it to the people, and then immediately spend it for my own gain. But also people can use that against you, and then, oh no, maybe someone else had a worker there and they took that stone, and now your plans are foiled. So I like it. It's different. And the advisor thing, I don't think it's particularly like incredibly different, but it's really good how they executed it. And I did like the innovation there. So that was the game design. Now moving on to the practicality of the game. This is something I don't think is touched on enough by most reviewers, and I wanted to talk about it. So first up, we have price. So speaking of not many people talk about it, this is weird because it was part of a Kickstarter, and it's been hinted that this meeple version is gonna get a retail release. But there's also a miniature version with a Game Found campaign right now you can go to and get it. I mean, I'm saying that now, but if you're in the future, high future people, you won't be able to get it. Sorry. Unless they have a retail release. They have kind of hinted about it. They haven't confirmed anything either way, so I'm not sure. So we can't really talk about the price. Sorry. And this review's all been for just the base game, no expansions, no stretchables or anything. I should have mentioned that. And then for storage of the game. So actually this is like really solid for the game. Here, this is the game box, and it's only this for a interesting Euro with a really large board, lots of components, lots of interesting things going on, and it's a really small box. It's thin, it fits anywhere, especially with this meeple version. The miniature version is thick, but like this one's very small, it fits in a lot of places. And then there's this very helpful resource tray, which stores all your resources how you want in the different sections. It's very easy to pick out and grab. Although there is only one, it would have been preferable to have two at like different ends of the table, but it still works. I really like that they included it, and you also store your resources in here with the game. They have some baggies, and you put them in here for the miniatures. Some stuff is stacked on top of each other, like cards and things. I prefer it when it's vertically instead of horizontal. Like, if you have your advisor cards here and they're stacked, everything in the game is like for the storage is stacked on top of each other, but I think it's more helpful like this since then you can separate it easier. But it still works, especially since it's such a small box. It has the black insert instead of like the clear or the white, which I think is really nice how they do that for Awaken Realms. And everything fits back pretty easily, except for the walls. So these are the giant cardboard walls you'll be building in your game. And across different games, but they don't actually fit in the box. You would have to entirely disassemble them each time, which is really annoying, and I don't want to do that, especially because if you continuously do that, you're wearing down the hinges and they become worsened quality over time and harder to fit back together. I say yes, that's happening right now. So I have to store them separately or like on top of the box and behind it. So I have the space, well, at least for now, but you might not, people posted solutions online, but most of them are focused for the miniatures box and like having other Kickstarter boxes, which I don't. I mean, I have other Kickstarter boxes, but not the miniatures version. So these can be pretty hard to store. So you just have to figure out something like that, or just putting them on a side shelf or somewhere else. But you just have to remember for figuring that out for here. And then final thoughts. That was the practicality of the game. Moving on to final thoughts. So you'll like this game if you're looking for an interesting Euro that's not too complicated. It's not a Rosenberg game. You want nice production and beautiful art. And you're looking for a Euro game that's not a very dry Euro collecting cubes, sending them out, but not necessarily the most thematic. But I think this is a very thematic Euro for what it is. That's why you'll like it. You'll dislike it if you're looking for a Euro game about war or an interesting game for fighting other enemies and destroying them and feeling like you're defending the wall, or you're looking for a pretty standard Euro game, not super theme interesting or trading in the Mediterranean. That's not what this is. Or if you want it to be generally available, because at the time of filming this video, it's not very readily available. So pretend everything I said was negative if you're not interested in getting the game at all. Because then you'll hype yourself up and maybe pay too much, which totally never happens to me. So, alternative recommendations. If you're looking for a different sort of Euro, setting out and defending the wall, I've heard After the Empire is good, but I haven't played it, so I can't comment on it necessarily. If you're looking for more about this just resource focused, then I would recommend Architects of the West Kingdom, which is also a lighter Euro if you're wanting to spend time with more people, or if you're with more non-gamerish people, or if you're looking for a space rather than, and sci-fi rather than this historical, then I would recommend Terraforming Mars, which is a niche game. You might not have heard of it. It's very low. Some people on Board Game Geek like it, I hear. That's sarcastic. So those are my final thoughts for the game. And then I was thinking of having either a recommendation, some sort, one way or another, for two categories. One, a steal of something, or the other you'll see on the screen, for if I would buy the game again, knowing how I've played it and what I've thought about it, and one that I would recommend to a lot of people to try, which is the higher tier, or like the lower one. And I think for the Great Wall, I think it's a solid game. It's nothing spectacular. It doesn't feel very thematic, but I like the components. It's easy to store. It's small, so that lets me keep it around longer. It's Awaken Realms, so it's very nice quality, except for a few weird things like the stone and the wood. It's a pretty solid game. It's nothing spectacular for me, at least. I'm not a huge Euro person. I'm not a huge historical China person, and I don't really crave a game like this. I'm not sure if I would buy it again. My brother's not a huge fan of it. It takes a long time. So I don't think it is going to get either of the things, unfortunately. Although I do love Awaken Realms and the production's great, I'm just not sure at its core it's a game that's right for me. But it may be right for you. Thanks for watching. I'm Jake. This has been Orpheus Games, and make sure to stick around for other videos. I just made an Oath unboxing and Black Rose Wars if you're interested in that. Thanks!